enter your authorization followed.
Hello?
Hello, Theo?
Yes.
Detective Chris Wagner from Carver County Sheriff's Office.
Hi.
Yeah, is this a good time or not a good time for you?
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time. I think I had talked to you before while you were in Dubai. Did you have a great time?
Oh, Dubai was wonderful. Yes.
It looks amazing. Obviously, I've never been there, but it looks amazing. So
it is. It's a great city. Yeah, beautiful.
Were you there on vacation or for work?
I was there for work.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, very cool then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get to go and travel too much with this job, but
I hear you.
Anyhow, I got your name as somebody that was a tour manager or that had worked with Prince, and that you might have some information or that you might be able to shed some light, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but I was just told nothing specific, but that maybe I should reach out to you, that you might have any information. And so that's what I was trying to reach out to see if you had anything that you think would be something that we needed to know while we were investigating this.
Well, a couple of things. I don't know what specifically what area the investigation is taking, or how that's moving, and but what I do know is a couple of things. I flew out the day that I heard about his death, and when I got to Paisley, Kirk was there, and Phaedra was there. Diana,
Phaedra's assistant.
Attorney.
Yep. Okay.
Well, yeah, her attorney was there. Who's they're best friends. They've been best friends since forever. And Tyga was there. And there were a couple of other people that I didn't know who they were, but yeah, they were there as well. A couple of things happened. One of the things that struck me as odd is that Kurt pointed out something on the rug that they needed to remove. There was a guy there, and he said, "We need to make sure that we clean this up." So that was one of the things. It was something on the rug there. I don't know what it was, but it was stained.
Do you remember where that was?
Yeah, it was. So when you come in the front,
yep.
Where there's a little sitting area there. It was close to when you go past there's a counter there.
Yep.
It was in that vicinity.
So to the left, where they kind of had some chairs and couches and stuff, kind of in a...
Well, it wasn't far over to the left. It was a little more towards the center, maybe towards the right, but a little ways past that. Like if you take a couple of steps past that, it was in that little area there.
So, but not past the staircase, correct? Not near the elevator or anything, or
it was past the staircase. Yeah,
past the staircase.
Right.
I'm trying to remember if any chairs, or it was just in the hallway there.
Right. There wasn't. Yeah, there's no chairs right there. It was in the hallway.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was some kind of stain there that he said we need to get this up. We need to make sure that we clean this up. That was one of the things.
Was it? I'm sorry. Do you like to be called Theo? Yeah.
Theo, yes.
It's Theo. Okay. Was it past the stairs and before the elevator?
I believe it was before the elevator.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you didn't know what it was at all?
I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
No, I just thought that was weird because I know that when working with Prince, I don't know if they told you, but I was Prince's chief of staff and his tour manager. So I did everything for Prince. For instance, Tyka would email me and say, well, let my brother know that I'd like to talk to him. Or people would email me and say, this is a message I have for Prince, and I had to be discerning on what messages to give him and what messages not to give him, because if it was the wrong message, he would get upset and say, well, why did you send me this? And he would tell me, you have to decide what to send me. Don't send me everything, because if you send me everything, that means that these people may as well have access to me. And I don't want that. So I was the person that he relied on to send him messages and to book shows. You know, he would tell me what venues he wanted to book, those kinds of things.
Okay. And how long did you do that for?
2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I left in February of 2015. I was basically in the quote-unquote management position until, someone else, I guess Phaedra took that position after I sent in my resignation. And the reason why I did is because he was piling on even more responsibilities. He wanted me to be the estate manager. I remember he specifically showed me some things inside of Paisley that needed to be fixed, and then walked outside and said, this needs to be done, and I had to write everything down. And so at that point he said, now I also want you to become the estate manager, and I just couldn't. I would have been dead doing everything.
Yeah.
And so I left. So that's just to give you...
I'm sorry, Theo, was Kirk there at that time too, or were you...
He was there.
Okay,
yeah, he was there at that time. Yep. And he actually fired Kirk and then brought him back. I knew that was his intention, because he had fired Kirk several times in the past and brought him back. So it was just another moment when he wanted to fire him and bring him back. He brought him back after firing him, but I think that he just wanted new energy. He wanted because he would complain about Kirk and him not doing the job, and I knew then. I said, okay, here we go. He's gonna fire Kirk and have me to do this, and I can't do everything. It was just unbelievable. Like, he never slept and he would send off 1,000 things for you to do, and so I said, no, I can't. If I stay and if I do this, I will literally be ill from not getting rest and etc. So
it was consuming your life, basically.
It was all consuming.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So I didn't realize that all I was told was you were somebody I wanted to talk to. So I guess I didn't realize what significance that meant. Okay, so during that time, I'm sorry, when did you start? If you left in February of 2015.
Yeah, let me just back up. The initial was in 2011, doing not as tour manager, but working on the production in terms of production assistant.
Okay.
Then in 2012, I became tour manager, and one day he came to me and said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm working. And he said, no. What are you doing? After this? And I said, just working with Kathy Sledge, that is, a Sister Sledge. And he said, okay, well, I want you to help me to manage the girls. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't have a problem with that. And by the girls, he meant Third Eye Girl. So I got a call from Mariah. I think it was Mariah who called me. No, it was Michaela. Michaela called me and said, Prince wants you to come to Minneapolis, and she just had a list of some things that I needed to do, such as getting two of the houses that he owned up and running and the office up and running. So, among a couple of other things, so that's when I went out there, and I think I actually gave my resignation in October of 2014, but I stayed on working until February of 2015 in terms of not there physically, but from Atlanta, because I was there since 2012 in Minneapolis, but when I gave my resignation, I worked from Atlanta through February.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you, I'm sorry, Theo, just to make sure, is your last name London then?
Theo London, yep.
Theo London, okay. And your birth date is at 2/23/87?
No.
No. Okay, then I don't have the name then. Okay. What's your middle name?
Well, Theo London is the name that I use in entertainment. Everybody knows me by Theo London. I've used that name since forever. My legal name is Theron, Theron.
And is it London also?
McConaughey Head.
Oh, okay. How do you spell that? McConeyhead.
Okay.
And can I just get a birth date for you?
1/14/70.
Okay. Thank you. Glad I asked that. So you said Atlanta. Were you there for the concert then on the 19th?
No, I didn't go. I was supposed to set up I did. I set up the after party. They asked me to set up the after party, so I actually did that. And I was planning on seeing him at the after party, but of course he canceled that. He was ill and canceled it. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that was, you said one suspicious thing was the...
Yes, that was one.
The
other is that Phaedra said, tomorrow we're going to lock down Paisley. This is, I guess this was the Thursday that happened, and she said tomorrow we're going to lock down Paisley, and we're not going to let anybody in here. We're going to go through the rooms, and, we're going to clean up things and get rid of things. And then she turned to Kirk and said, well, who's on the computer last? And I don't remember what I couldn't really hear what he said. And she kind of smirked and said, okay, I'll just take care of that. I know how to take care of that. I'll go to the computer and do what I do, and, I got it. So that was the other thing. Why are you locking down Paisley and not letting anyone in, and what are you looking for, and what are you, quote-unquote, cleaning up by, what's going on there? So that was the other thing that I found to be odd. And the third thing was when she said to Taika, we're going to have to go to the bank tomorrow as well and pay some bills, and because I need some money for whatever she said. I couldn't understand that as well, but she's talking about going to the bank tomorrow and paying some bills and taking some money, and she said, but Marilyn was out, so Marilyn wouldn't be there, so they had to figure that out.
Okay.
That was the other thing. Yeah. Talking about money and bills on the day that he's passing is like, what's going on here? So, speaking of Taika, what was her and her brother's relationship, to your knowledge? Well, while I was there, he would say whether or not he wanted to speak to her. I think that of all of the siblings, she's the only one that I heard from during that time. I think he mentioned Omar once, And when he mentioned them, I didn't even realize that Omar was his brother when he mentioned them, so it just went in one ear and out the other. But but he said to me once, it was Kirk and I in his office, and we were talking about something, and I guess we got on family, and he said, do you think Ida would sue me? And I said, Ida? No, she wouldn't sue you. And he said, okay, well, do you think Taika would sue me? And I said, Taika, no, she wouldn't sue you. And he just looked at Kirk, and then he just started laughing, and he said, yeah, okay, whatever. And so Kirk told me later that Taika had sued him once or tried to or something like that. So I found that to be really interesting because that's his sister.
Right. What would she sue him for?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So I don't know what that was about. But
so did you see Taika or President or any of Prince's nephews around or anything like that?
Taika came to the concerts, and now once he said, ask my brother if I can come to the concert, and of course he said yes. President did come a couple of times because I remember when she introduced me to him. Yeah.
Did you know anything about either one of them working for Prince or anything?
Well, Taika did, he was frustrated because a lot of times her job was to do takedowns, which meant that when his stuff appeared on the internet, she was supposed to send them a cease and desist to take down that information. So a lot of times he would send stuff to me, and I would just cringe because I'm thinking, how did you find this? And so he would say, tell Taika to do this. She's supposed to be doing this. Where is she? And he paid her for doing that. So that was her job. And eventually we...
I'm sorry, Theo, to interrupt you. Take down. How did you say that he would have them do what?
Yeah, they're takedowns, which is cease and desist of any copyright infringements from the internet.
Okay.
So if someone posted his song or posted his video or posted something about him, she was supposed to send them a cease and desist to take it down. So we eventually found a company to do that, but we were actually paying both the company and still paying her, even though the company began to, basically take that responsibility over.
So that would be if Prince was paying Taika money, out of his, if he was to make payments to Taika, it was for working for him then? Yeah,
that's what it was for.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense then. I had just seen some payments, and so I wasn't sure what that was about, but...
yeah.
Okay. So would President ever do that, or you don't know?
President never did it while I was there.
Okay.
No.
All right. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to probably jump all over here, Theo, but so if you were kind of managing him, he had his current assistant was Marone. Was that kind of your job, or was there a different assistant at that time?
Well, no, he always had assistants while I was there. Okay. I actually hired Marone.
All right.
Yeah. So what happened is Mariah was an assistant, and he became frustrated with Mariah, so he told me to tell Mariah to find someone who can help her. And when he did that, I knew what his plan was because I'd seen that picture before. Whoever that person was, he would, have them to come in, and then he would get rid of the person who, brought that person in, which happened to be Mariah at that time. So, he said, you and Mariah interview people and come up with someone. So Mariah said, I think I know someone, and that was Marone, and we interviewed her and hired her.
And to replace Mariah then?
Exactly, that's what ended up happening.
But and Mariah didn't know that then?
No, I wasn't going to tell her that until he said, exactly.
Do you have Mariah's information or know how I could get a hold of her?
I do.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Let's see here. Mariah.
And is Mariah M-I-R-A-H?
M-A-R-I-A-H.
M-A-R-I-A-H. Okay.
I-A-H. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
651.
All right.
955.
Okay.
1494.
And what's her last name? Do you know?
Mariah Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, Mariah Brown. And she and I actually went to Paisley that Friday, and the officer there called Phaedra on his walkie and told them that we were out there, and she said, no, we're on lockdown, so no one can get in. And, you know, he asked me, he said, well, do you think that's political by you being his former chief of staff and, you know, she's new management? Why wouldn't she let you in if that's the case? Right. You know, you're the chief of staff. And so, yeah, I don't know what they were doing in there, but that's, and why they would allow them to lock it down after, you know, this just happened. You know, what are they rummaging for?
Well, at that time, you know, I don't know how I say this correctly, but we didn't know.
Well, I think I know what you want to say. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you for reading my mind here.
Exactly.
At the time, there was some different things going on. So, which brings me...
Let me say this before I forget.
Go ahead.
Forget your thought. But so that weekend, we were at a dinner, and Judith Hill said to me, she said, I told Phaedra that he needed medical help because the doctor, and she was referring to the doctor that saw him when the emergency landing happened.
Yep.
She said the doctor said it was dire. He needed help immediately. And I told Phaedra that, and Phaedra just laughed it off and said, oh, he was just sleeping on the plane. She said, I said, Phaedra, I was there. I saw him. He was not just sleeping on the plane. The doctor said, get him some help immediately. And she said that Phaedra would not budge until it was too late. And that was Phaedra's responsibility. One of the things that Prince told me, because when I was there, he had to go see a doctor because he wasn't feeling well. Kirk drove him to the doctor. And, you know, I was telling him, you know, as a vegetarian, he should be supplementing that with natural organic herbs, such as the black seed herb and a couple of other herbs. And he said, well, you know, I don't know anything about that, but that's what you're here for. He said, it's your job to take care of me. Anybody in this position is supposed to take care of me. You know, you all need to do that. You all need to, you know, hire a chef and tell the chef what I need. And that's when I hired, what's his name? The two chefs, the chef team.
Oh, Ray Roberts? Yep.
Yes.
Ray Roberts?
Yes.
Okay.
I interviewed him and hired him, he and his wife, and they stayed with him as the chef. So that was Phaedra's responsibility, to make sure that he was okay. Anybody in that position with Karen, you know, before me, she that was her responsibility. You know, we all had that responsibility.
Okay,
you know,
so
this is a world-renowned artist.
So Karen, and then it was you, and then it was Phaedra.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah. Okay. Now, while I was there, Phaedra was the businessman, quote unquote business manager. There's just some suspicions in terms of the money aspect of it and what she did with a lot of the money, because on several occasions she would say, pay this to a person, and she would just disregard it and wouldn't pay it, and she even stopped paying the band what the band was used to making. And it's like, this is what this man pays them, and anytime anyone would bring up pay, he'd stop them and say, do not talk to me about pay, ever. Talk to Theo and Phaedra. And so when I would tell Phaedra, because she had the bank account, she'd say, I'm not paying that. No. They're making too much money. So, it's like, this man, it's his money. Why are you not doing what he says to do? And then, where's the publishing money? She hired these people to recoup publishing money, but where's that money going? And she would always tell them, well, we have $1 million in taxes, so the publishing money is going to taxes. And he'd get mad and say, well, you told me that last month and the month before, and you said that was the last payment. Oh, no, we just had one more, and so you'll be seeing the publishing money after that. And no publishing money ever surfaced. So it's like, where does this money go?
Theo, you're in the music. I'm not in the music business. But when you're talking about publishing, you're talking about his royalties.
Yes.
Is that correct? So
yes.
And let me try to understand if I'm saying this right, but when he got out of the contract with Universal, they were managing his royalties, correct?
Yes.
And then Phaedra got him out of that contract, and that's what you're trying to tell me is that he was no longer getting the royalties from Phaedra, and she was saying that she was paying taxes.
Well, out of that contract, the contract ceased with Warner as well. He still had another quarter. What happens with Universal is, even though you end the term, they still have to recoup for like 1 or 2 other quarters. So, but with owning his masters, he now has the right to exploit that any way he wants. So we hired a team of people who would go out and exploit the masters to bring in money from the masters. And so that's part of the money. And then the other money was the money coming in from Universal. And after Universal, those people that were hired were supposed to now collect. It was supposed to come into NPG. So that money as well. And that's the publishing money and the royalties that we never really saw, because she would say, it's $1 million tax bill, so that's what we're going to use to pay this with. And then the next month it would be another $1 million tax bill. So it just went on, and we're like, where is this money? And I was told that by one of the attorneys, Tracy Branford. Are you familiar with her?
No.
Tracy's is one of the attorneys, I guess, that's dealing with the estate matters. She called me and said that she wanted information from me because Phaedra, no one ever mentioned my name. She was even surprised that, I worked for Prince, and one of the promoters, she was investigating missing money, a huge amount of missing money. One of the promoters said, well, you should talk to Theo. He may have some insight that will help you. So she reached out to me and said, I'm glad to be talking to you because we didn't even know you existed, and we're trying to figure out where this missing money is.
And you said her last name was Bransford?
Branford. Tracy
Branford. And she's an attorney that's handling the current case with Ica and...
No, well, she's on the estate side, so I think she's working for Brimmer. I don't think she's not working for Tyco or one of the siblings. Yeah, she's representing Brimmer.
Do you have her contact information?
I do. Oh.
Okay.
558-2233.
Okay. And so she's an attorney that on the behalf of the state.
Let me give you another number.
Okay.
I hope that's the right number I just gave you, but I know this one is correct. 612.
All right.
335-7019.
That one's for sure a good one for her?
That one's for sure a good one, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll cross the other one off then. And it's Tracy Branford or Bransford? Branford.
Branford.
Okay. And did she say specifically that the missing money or that had anything to do with the royalties or anything, or she didn't know? Or she just kind of asking?
I think she was just asking questions. She was just saying that there was some money that, I guess in their investigation, I don't know, but there was a huge amount of missing money, or money not accounted for that, they wanted to know what happened to it.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of without me understanding the whole music business, but that is what I kind of was under the impression that Prince had one of the largest music catalogs in history, and that he was getting all these royalties, and that when Phaedra took over and got him out of his music contracts, that they no longer were his publishers, that she had some different accounts that they had opened, possibly.
Right. She did. She opened the NPG Music and Publishing account. I think it was called Music and Publishing. Yeah, but she did open an account. Money went into that account, and she was supposed to pay bills from that account. Well, I know that she didn't always pay people. For instance, she said to give $100,000 to the company that was making a movie on, I think it was Bob Marley, or Hendrix, that's what it was, Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix. And so she said, I'm not doing that. She wouldn't give that money, and he said to let them know that there was more if they needed. But she didn't do that. So it's, he entrusted her with this account, but she didn't always do what she was supposed to with it.
Okay, and that's the NPG Music and Publishing account?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you know of any other accounts that she might have had?
I don't, but I know that for sure she had that one. She could have easily have, created others.
Do you know of anything with her and Van Jones at all?
Well, they were close, contrary to what he says. Now, he's trying to distance himself, but they're still close. That's like his little sister. According to her, he was responsible for bringing her to the White House, and they also worked on one of his organizations together, but he saw her as, a sister.
Okay.
So yeah, they're very, very close. He was the one who introduced Phaedra to Prince, and
Okay.
And let me go back to the computer thing where she said, "Oh, I'll take care of that."
Yep.
Because she said on several occasions she would just, before that, this is in dealing with Phaedra and her needing some information from someone who wouldn't give her that information. She would say, "Oh, I'll just hack into their computer." And I went once. I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah. I live in Silicon Valley area, and yeah, I have people who can do that." And without saying her name, when my my email was hacked into, Prince basically told me that she was the one who did it because he just needed to make sure that everyone who's close to him is properly vetted. So I don't know what she was looking for, but
Properly what?
Properly vetted.
What does that mean?
He had to, well, he needed to properly vet them, that they're looked into, and so he can make sure that, there are no skeletons or, those kinds of things in their closet that would be embarrassing for him, I guess. So he basically, without saying she was the one who did it, he basically said she did it. She was the one who did it. So I wouldn't be alarmed and go to the authorities, because that's what I was saying at that point. Well, I'm going to take this to the authorities. So he told me that so that I wouldn't go to the authorities.
Okay, so was she going into your email after you resigned?
No.
Oh,
This was long before. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. She didn't find anything. So she could have just asked.
Right.
And I would have given her my password. I don't have anything to hide. And that's but I think with her she was painting a picture, because what Phaedra does is when she goes into organizations, she wants people around her who she knows specifically and who she can control. So I think what she had to do was plant doubt in Prince's mind about me, because she said at one meeting to some people that, I'm getting rid of Theo. I'm going to have Prince to fire him, and I'm going to bring Crystal back on board. That's what she said, and it got back to me. And it's like, and I told Prince, and Prince was livid. He said, you don't have that authority, and Crystal will never work for me again. Theo isn't going anywhere. So Prince told me, he said, you're welcome here. He told me this in front of Kirk. He said, you're welcome here. He said, you're a good brother. He said, you can stay here as long as you want. This is your home.
Okay. My apologies. I'm writing little notes here as we're talking here. So, so Crystal meaning Crystal Zehetner then?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so was Crystal and Phaedra close then?
Yeah. Well, evidently because she wanted her back.
Okay.
And Prince shut that down quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you obviously know about his pain pills and usage at all?
Well, I knew that he was in a lot of pain.
Okay.
He would complain about his back, and he would complain about his, I think he said he twisted his ankle. So he would complain about that and then say, well, can you call, I forget the doctor's name, but he would call that doctor in every once in a while, and even have me to bring him out on the road in some cities because he was in pain.
Okay. You don't remember any of these doctors, or would you have any information?
It was a Minneapolis doctor. I know I have it in my email. I have to look, and what is that man's name? Yeah, it's in my email. I would have to look. Was it Michael? Yeah, I would have to look.
Could you do me a favor, Theo? This number is my desk number. Could you, if you find it, could you call and leave me a message, or do you want me to send you an email with my email contact on it, or I'd just be interested.
Yeah, I'll call you. Yep.
Okay.
I'll look it up. Yep.
And yeah, and if you could spell the last name too, in case sometimes I miss things. So.
Yeah, I think that's what I have. I think he called him by his last name, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's what I have is the last name. Yeah,
that would be good. I'm just looking, or if you could recall any doctors that he would have seen.
Well, the thing, it was different on the road because, like, for different shows, he would say, bring this doctor, find me a doctor. And 9 times out of 10, the venue had a doctor, and he would say, send the doctor in. I need a B12 shot. I'm in pain. I need something. So then we would call in whoever the doctor was at the venue.
Okay. So that was common for him to get doctors from venues for B12 shots or whatever.
Right.
I didn't realize. So like different stadiums or whatever the case may be would have a doctor as part of their. Okay, I didn't know that.
All of them do. Yeah.
Okay. So would it be safe to say then, if you had a concert, like let's say Atlanta, the performance center, whatever, that doctor would be the one that would come in and give him a B12 shot?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Unless someone, I or someone else, called a different doctor in.
Okay.
Because that could happen as well.
And were you ever there?
And sometimes he would say, I don't want the venue doctor, just call someone else.
Okay. But he didn't have a regular doctor that you remember at all?
No, only the one that he would fly in from Minneapolis. That's the only one that I know he would fly in. I just have to look. Let's see if I can find his name here. I'll keep looking while I'm...
Okay.
But Mariah may know the name. She's probably...
All right.
I forget. And I just think it's odd that Phaedra waited so long. And I still wonder, in the media reports, it says that this young man didn't see him, but I have a hard time believing that.
What are you talking about?
The young man, the quote-unquote doctor who wasn't a doctor that went in to see him.
Oh.
I have a hard time believing that he didn't see him the night before. And the reason why I say that is because Prince never opened up Paisley that early. He was a night owl. So if anything, if you need to go to Paisley, you're going to go over there in the evening. Maybe at night even. You're not going to go to Paisley at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, because he doesn't open Paisley that early. Everybody who works for him knows that. He doesn't open that place that early. So, it's not unusual for him not to be up. If you send him an email at 8 o'clock in the morning, unless he's just still up and haven't gone to sleep, he's not going to respond. There's nothing suspicious about him not responding at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning.
And when you said email, I just want to confirm with everybody else that I've talked to, he did not have a cell phone, correct?
He didn't have a cell phone, but now a couple of the lines in the house,
yep.
If you call them, you're not going to get through. But there were a couple of lines in the house. If you call them, he's going to pick up.
Was that the 2405? I think, was that his bedroom number?
Let me see here.
I have two numbers that, there was a 2405, I believe, was his bedroom, and then there was another number that was the kitchen.
There's a 2409.
Yep.
There's a 2444. And those are the two, I think, work. Like you can get in contact with them because there were a couple of numbers there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but they wouldn't call. You'd never call that number unless he specifically said, "Call me in the kitchen," or "Call me in the green room," or "Call me in." You just never called them. You would email them, and you'd wait for him to respond. So you're not going to go over there early in the morning because he never opened Paisley in the morning. Now, because we all know he's a night owl, you may go over there at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock and, hi, Prince. Or, what are you doing here if you're coming unannounced? So that's why I don't believe that they did not see him that night. I just don't believe it.
Okay. What did you think of Kirk and Marone?
Well, Kirk took his orders from Phaedra. She was the one who controlled the money, so he took his orders from her and did whatever. He was really a puppet. And I say that because that's the best that I have for Kirk. I like Kirk. Everybody likes Kirk. But he really did not have a backbone. And, it is what it is.
Okay. What about Marone? Do you think Prince was close with her at all?
Well, I know he was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if somebody was to get him something, who would it have been? If he needed something, and I'm not talking, fruit cups or, that kind of stuff, but if he wanted something, who would help him get it?
Anyone who was close to him.
So would that be Kirk, Phaedra, and Marone? Would that be...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Those three would be at the top, or somebody else?
It would be them, yeah.
Okay. Yep. What about his relationship with Larry Graham?
That was a great relationship. He respected Larry. He really respected Larry. In fact, there's an email that he has some money, I think $1 million set aside for Larry, or he told him he did. And he said, whenever you're ready for it, because it was to build a house, he said, whenever you're ready for it, just let me know. So eventually Larry said, okay, I'm ready for the $1 million that you said you have set aside for me. So Prince at that time asked Marilyn if there was an account with $1 million in it, for Larry, because he had promised him that money. So, I think her response was, no, there is no, account set aside for him.
Do you know if Larry ever got that $1 million?
I don't know, because whoever was supposed to set that aside evidently didn't do it. Yeah.
Do you know if Phaedra was supposed to get any money at all?
For Larry?
No, for Prince. Was Phaedra or Marone or Kirk going to have any money at all set aside?
Well, they were paid. No, they were on salary.
Oh, I understand, but I mean, do you know if he ever said, I'll give you $1 million, Phaedra, or I'll give you...
Oh, no.
No, nothing that you know, only Larry that you know of? Okay.
Well, Larry, for the house, but he would give certain people, for instance, Esperanza Spalding, she did a show for him, and he said, give her $100,000. So he was very kind to entertainers and artists who supported him and who he felt, he wanted to cultivate. So he was very generous with that. He would help people out. I have a couple of emails where he helped artists. He said, give them this to help them out. He was just very generous with them. But no, he wouldn't have given Phaedra $1 million because her gift for getting him out of that contract with Warner was a Tesla. He gave her a Tesla as her gift.
The car?
Yeah.
Oh.
He told me to find out what she wants and to give it to her for, helping him to get out of the master situation. And so I asked Diana, who's her best friend, who she also had to, she hired her to do some legal work or some legal/accounting work for Prince. But yeah, she's her attorney and best friend who happened to now represent Prince in those capacities. Talk about conflict of interest, but yeah, I asked Diana to find out what she really wanted, and Diana said, "Oh, she really wants that Tesla," and so that's what we got her.
Do you know what color it was, out of curiosity?
I think it was a black one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that the masters were with Universal and.
No, the masters were with Warner. Universal had the rights to exploit, to collect his publishing and royalties. Okay,
so the masters was Warner Brothers. I get confused at a lot of this, but okay. So Phaedra got that. Had Kirk ever gotten anything that you know of, or Marone?
No.
No. Okay. So.
Kirk got a house. So,
yeah.
So for Prince, that was his payment, and like I said, he was phasing Kirk out, hoping that I would take that position. But and even when I said no and I resigned, he was livid, and I'm thinking, okay, well, at least Kirk can keep his job. He then fired Kirk, but I guess he needed someone in that position, so he hired him back.
Okay. So, Kirk was kind of just was Kirk and Prince that good of friends or not friends? Or were they in your...
No, they were friends. Were friends. Yeah, they were friends. But I know that Kirk was under extreme pressure. Kirk is someone who really can't handle a lot of pressure, and I could easily see him breaking. I knew that he was beginning to break because he texted me and said, "Are you ready to come back?" And that's when I knew he was really at his wit's end, because he wanted help. That was his way of saying help.
Okay. When you were talking emails that you would correspond with Prince, was that on the Ramadan email, or was that a different email?
Yep. That was a Ramadan email.
Okay. Did you know of Prince to delete files or to be cautious about his emails? I mean, did you know any of his history with his computers or any of that kind of stuff?
No. No. Prince, and it's interesting because I bought another computer for Prince when we were in Turks and Caicos, and at some point along the way, Kirk emailed me and said, "What's the password to this computer?" So I gave it to him.
Oh, so Kirk asked for the password for Prince's computer?
Yep.
Okay. Do you still know what that was?
Peter Braystrong. For the one that I purchased for him, it was Peter Braystrong.
Okay, and that was his traveling name that he would use. Okay.
Yep.
Which makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay. His suitcases, like when he would travel and stuff, did he specifically always keep the same things in there, or did somebody stock his suitcases, or how did that happen?
He would stock his suitcases, to my knowledge, unless I don't know if Mariah would ever go over to, or Michaela. Because they were basically assistants. We called them like managers to just make them feel good, but they were basically assistants. him.
Okay.
And I don't know if on any occasions they would, stock the suitcases, but anytime that I would go over to meet him, the suitcases would be ready. He'd put them downstairs, and I would go grab them, put them in the vehicle, and we'd take off. Now, in hindsight, there were a couple of times when we were on the jet, and he would say to me, make sure they don't go into my suitcases. So, yeah, I don't know what was in them. I assume that he had money in them, but you just never know.
Okay. Okay, that brings my next question to you. Obviously, you know that he died of a fentanyl overdose. Did you ever know of him using fentanyl at all?
No, absolutely not.
Do you know where he would have gotten that, or have any idea? I would assume any idea where he would have gotten something like that?
I don't even know what that is. I assume is it pills?
Well, fentanyl it can come in many different forms, but it's a pain reliever, usually used for cancer patients. It's just an extremely, not very much. It doesn't take much at all. So, do you have any idea?
Let me say this. Prince asked me once to get him some pills for pain. And so I went out and bought some, I guess it was Tylenol or something, and he got very upset with me. And he said, this isn't what I want. I need something stronger. And so I told Phaedra, I said, well, Phaedra, he got mad at me because, I didn't give him what he wanted. And she said, yeah, he told me that he needed some pain medicine, and I told him I have some Tylenol, and he got mad at me as well. That's what she said. So I'm pretty sure that he would ask others to get him pain medicine. So I don't know what they brought him, but if they're going to bring him something and it's stronger than, the medicine that's in the stores, I don't know if he would be knowledgeable about what he's taking.
Right.
Because all he knows in his mind is, I need something to ease my pain. So I assume that anytime he asked for a doctor, the doctor would give him prescribed medicine. But Prince never, to my knowledge, went to a store to get medicine. He would always ask us to get him what he needed. He did go to the store, but he went to the store at night to shop. I don't recall him ever going into a Walgreens by himself. He could have, without my knowledge, but that was my job when I was there, and Mariah's job, and Michaela's job, and whoever else was the assistant. Katie, she was one of the assistants who lived there. And so, we would go shopping for him. We would go, get him whatever he needed.
Okay.
So there was a picture online where it showed him going into a Walgreens. That never happened, especially if we're going to drive him. Like, that never happened. And that was Kirk's truck, SUV. And I'm thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah, they were together on that. That was the night before. So, okay. So he never went in. So in your, I guess, what you're kind of telling me, it would more than likely be Phaedra, Kirk, or Marone that would have gotten him.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. he's not the kind that would order up some pills or, go meet somebody downtown or nothing like that.
No, even with like ordering stuff online, I remember being on the jet and he circled something that he wanted. It was some kind of something to look younger and feel younger, and something that they were selling in one of the magazines. And he said, "Order me this." So I ordered it for him. But anything like that, anything that needed to be ordered, we would order it for him. He would circle shoes and say, "Here, have these shoes made. Have this outfit made. Order these books." We did all the ordering.
Okay. And I'm sorry to take you back, Theo, but that computer that you bought, was that a laptop or a desktop?
That was a laptop. The desktop, remember, is the computer that Phaedra said that she'd take care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phaedra said she was going to do the desktop in his yellow room.
Yeah. Well, what she said, I assumed it was the desktop because she said who was on his computer last, and I didn't understand the response that Kurt gave her. But he said something, and she said, "Oh, I'll go ahead and take care of that. I know how to do that. I'll make sure that that's okay." That kind of thing.
Okay. That laptop, do you remember what it was or what color it was or brand or anything?
I don't, because I purchased it in Turks and Caicos, so I don't remember,
All right. I feel like I've been talking your ear off, Theo. Is there a lot? I'm wondering if I might have to call you again if I'm thinking of other things. Is that okay?
That's fine.
I'm trying to think of all the things I wanted to ask you, and is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think is important for me to know?
Well, I don't want to be have just a conspiracy, but one of those people who are into conspiracies and things like that. But it's just odd, interesting. I'll use the word interesting that Van Jones, Prince saying, "I need someone to get my master's back. I need a fighter. I need a bulldog to go in there and confront Warner." And Van Jones says, "Oh, Phaedra is the person you want." And she goes in there and magically gets these masters for him. And then on the next album, he goes back into a relationship with Warner, which is really odd for me. And then I thought about it and I said, well, he told me that he wanted L.A. Reid to have the next album. So I'm negotiating with L.A. Reid, and while the negotiations are going, Phaedra is asking me, well, what's L.A. Reid offering? And I tell her, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, Warner has a better deal. And he said, well, go back and see if L.A. Reid can do better. And I go back to L.A. Reid, and L.A. Reid says, where do I need to be? And I said, just give me your best, L.A., because he really wants you to have this. So L.A. gave me his best. Phaedra goes, well, what's his best? And I tell her, and all of a sudden, Warner has a better deal. So it's just odd to me that she would fight so hard for Warner to get his next couple of albums after this man has fought so hard to extricate himself from a relationship with Warner.
Okay. Did you know if Phaedra had any connections with Warner Brothers?
I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, I was told at one time, I don't know if it's still the case, that CNN is owned by Warner. Warner owns CNN, and of course we know where Van Jones works for. He's a contributor, paid contributor for CNN, so I wouldn't be surprised if Warner had him to send in Phaedra. I mean, I just wouldn't, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was getting paid by Warner. And who stands to benefit, if something happens to Prince? Warner, because now they have,